sound check up in here. So put this on, the mic should be on. You put these on for you, brother. Sweet, okay. Ooh, testing. You should be coming in loud and clear. Testing. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick sound check. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
Test.
Okay. Stop. Tight. You all good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brother Beeson, we need that phone away, though. Is that chill?
That's good. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, Brother Beeson. We haven't started. Although we are live on YouTube. Just kidding. I don't have the infrastructure for that yet. Okay. Here we go. We're on in 3, 2. You know what? Let me turn this game down a little bit because we've got these chiefers.
Background noise.
Downstairs, yeah. So if I turn this, just keep the mic up in your grill, right, nice and close.
Okay.
Okay. 1 3 2 1. Hello everyone. I'm here with Louis Serafini in his running dojo, Tracksmith on Newberry Street. This place looks like a fucking design. I don't know. This looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch or something. They have their own beer. The whole thing's kind of freaking me out. I was promised a shirt after, so we'll get to that. Louis Serafini was on the team with me. Rather, I was on the team with him at Boston College. A couple years older than me. Always admired his work ethic. Loved running. I think more than probably anyone else on the team, or at least top 2 or 3. Not to burn any bridges there, but always admired that. And post grad, he kept going. I think a lot of people take the safe route. Can we get my 9 to 5 and blah blah blah. I had my time to run. Now it's time to do whatever it is we usually do for 40 years. So that's why I want to have Serafine on the show, and we're about to riff on that. Quick shout out though to, let's see, we got Trackster. We can see if we see that in the video right there. Trackster. This is an app, running. Get your splits. You can invite teams. You can organize workouts on it. Really cool app, built by some of the guys at BC. We got Jack Sexton, Emmet Scullivan, and then also Sam Scully, who's didn't go to BC, but shout out to him, and Andy Powell, who's apparently an ambassador, Oregon track coach. So these guys are epic. This app has needed to exist for a while. Actually, in my Android days, I wanted to build something like this. Never did it. These guys did. So shout out Trackster. Download it. Time your runs. Time your life. Louis Serafini. What's the mileage at, brother?
Right now, probably mid-70s. Still getting back into it, so.
Mid-70s, okay. What are you training for right now?
Also not really sure.
Okay.
I had like a pretty long track season, and kind of took the summer to chill and just focus on work and have a little fun. So probably cross country, maybe a half marathon, some road races. But I really want to do another full track season and see if I can like lower my times a little bit. So keeping it chill for a few months, and we'll kind of just see where it goes.
Okay. Now my next question always to runners is how's the mileage? Excuse me, what's the mileage? How's the body?
I would say like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 right now. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's like half summer bod, half like getting back into it bod, you know? So
yeah, first of all, speaking of summer bod, this guy just finished a run. I got here a little early, and I was like, oh, where's Lou? Talking to Jeff downstairs. He said, oh, he's for a run. Oh, he's out for a run. Of course he is. And then he comes in. He's like, oh, dude, here's a beer just right away. This is his recovery plan. So, okay, I hear that.
Yeah, I was going to take today to not drink. And then we scheduled this podcast, and it's been a minute, so take advantage of those good moments.
Right on. So tell me about just kind of what you're up to. So you were at Heartbreak Hill Running Company. So for those that don't know, Heartbreak Hill Running Company, kind of big in the Boston running scene. This guy teaches Bostonians how to run. That's the way I view. You're a running ambassador in Boston. Now you're at Tracksmith. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I spent like 4 years at Heartbreak Hill Running Company.
Yep.
The majority of that time, I would say, was without any sort of direction in what I wanted to do. And the job kind of like evolved throughout the years. And it wasn't really until I got my job offer here until I realized what, I was really good at. Because they basically looked at the scope of what I'd done at Heartbreak and offered me a job to do the same thing here at Tracksmith, which is just basically build up the running community, unite runners, bring people together, and cultivate a really cool running environment and experience. So that's kind of what I spent time doing at Heartbreak, just sitting in Newton, selling shoes, talking to runners.
Right.
Leading
You had your workout. What would you have? You had those workouts on Heartbreak?
Yeah, Hill Club.
Hill Club.
I miss Hill Club a lot.
Okay.
I've been back once. They do cheese and beer now, which is new.
Damn.
And a very, very good addition, in my opinion. But my buddy Connor leads that group now. Connor is one of my best friends, and definitely holds down the fort. So it's good to see that it's in good hands. But Hill Club, I always liked Hill Club because it was a little bit separate from the rest of Heartbreak, you know?
Right.
It was our own thing. The Heartbreakers is the big running team community with Heartbreak Hill Running Company, and I felt like maybe it wasn't a good thing, but a lot of the people that came and did Hill Club weren't necessarily Heartbreakers. They were just a bunch of runners that wanted to come out and do a hill workout every week. So that was my thing there. But now I lead 3 run clubs every single week. We do a Tuesday workout, a Thursday workout, and a Sunday long run. So it's a Tuesday speed, Thursday tempo, Sunday long. So the whole idea is if you wanted to get a proper week of training, all you'd have to do is come to the workouts, come to the long run, and recover in between, and you'd be good to go.
Recover, so just not run at all, right?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Seriously, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
or just easy jogging, whatever.
That's the minimum effective dose. I know we're both trying to figure out this wire situation.
I think we're good. I think it's
I think we figured it out. We figured it out. Dude, that's fucking awesome. I really respect the whole. I riffed on this earlier in the intro, but, kind of just going for it. I think, especially at BC, there's that pressure.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. Yeah. Okay. Right on to kind of go me and Zingarini were riffing on this. I had him on the show last time. I'm having a lot of BC people on lately, but our joke was ever to Microsoft Excel. So there's some pressure to kind of go that route. Kind of, go to some big, Johnny pencil pusher firm and kind of do that whole track. So I want you to walk me through what was going through your head, and second semester, senior year, even first semester. What were you thinking about what post grad was going to look like? Did you think you were going to do this? And that hit me.
Yeah. I think even from a career perspective, I was late to the game when it came to being at Boston College.
Right.
I always felt like I got there and everyone had a plan, freshman year, first semester, at orientation. Everyone I talked to was I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a doctor, pre-med, blah, 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 whatever. And I was always just kind of well, I like math. Science is cool too. I don't really know.
Nice.
So I don't know. I went through the majority of my college experience not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I tested out math for a little bit. I did really well in regular calculus, took multivariable and almost failed. So realized that wasn't going to be my calling. Thought maybe psychology for a minute because I was really interested in sports psychology. Running's obviously a super mental sport, so I thought that might be something interesting, but it conflicted with practice. All of the core classes were at noon, and as you know, that's exactly when we had to work out. So, and running was very important to me, so that didn't work out. And then I kind of just fell into a communications major because it was the most broad thing that you could do. And the joke at BC was always that was the easiest major that you could do. Sure. Also, you might remember Keebs, but he was a comm major. I think he might have been first in his class for communication though. He was actually smart. I was one of the people that was I'm just going to take this because it's broad and I won't fail it and I'll get a degree and we'll figure out the rest, when we get there. So, and that was cool. And I still kind of consider myself a pretty awkward person, even though I work a pretty social job.
Right.
And I always I feel I'm one of those people that, I learned how to have conversations with people, but you can still feel the awkward when you're talking to me.
Oh, I love that, dude. I love that. Okay, right on.
So being a comm major, I feel was kind of the first step towards figuring out, how to be in conversations and talk to people. And I
talk to girls.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
Right.
We'll get there someday.
Yeah.
But I worked an internship with the Patriots where I literally would stand in Patriot Place, which is the outdoor shopping mall at Gillette, and with an iPad, and just give surveys to people, 10-minute long surveys. And that was really like the first like face-to-face, like forced interaction that I started to have with people.
Right.
And then I kind of, that internship went all right. And then I kind of fell into a PR job, and I did that my entire senior year. So
I remember that.
Yeah. So Bolivia and I would run 3 days a week at like 7 a.m. We'd do our 10-miler. And then I'd go off and work my PR job for a couple hours, and I'd come back and I'd do the school thing and the running thing.
Right.
And when I graduated, they offered me a job, so I was doing that. And I apologize if this is getting long-winded a little
please.
bit.
I would cut. Remember, I will cut you off.
Yeah, cut me off, definitely.
This is the juice.
So, it was a small firm in Newton.
Yep.
There was 4 people that worked for the company.
Yep.
And it was okay. I just thought it was like what I was supposed to be doing, exactly what you're talking about.
Totally.
I'd gone through school, I'd gotten my degree, I was working a job in a relevant field. I was learning a little bit. It was just a coordinator position, lots of spreadsheets, I was the youngest one there by about 10 years, so I was the only one that was like social media savvy, so that was like kind of my thing.
You knew how to go to twitter.com.
Yeah, literally. So whenever we got a new client, they'd be like, oh, like my boss would literally bring me into sales meetings.
We have a millennial with us.
Yeah, he'd be like, Lou can do social media for your company.
Right.
And that was like my biggest sell. So it was okay. I wasn't really running much. As you might remember, I was like hurt for a lot of my senior year.
Yep. You had runner's knee?
Something fucking weird.
Something weird. Yeah, for sure.
Just every time I tried to go fast, it would like click and catch, and it was very uncomfortable. But came back for a bit towards the end of the year and ran some very less than me times, very slow times.
I love that, less than me. I love that phrase. Yeah, okay, right on.
And just, I don't know, I was burnt out and thought that I was pretty much done with running.
Yep.
And I was working the PR gig and like really didn't like it that much. I was living with Kyle Nelson, who you probably remember.
Yeah,
we lived at Clark Road, which is a road in Brookline, and not like urban Brookline. It was like the burbs. So we had this little basement apartment. Kyle would like bump his head on the ceiling, like this is how small it was. No kitchen. And it was cheap rent, but we would just go out like 4 or 5 days a week. I would do my like 45-minute run 4 days a week, and I wasn't working out, no long runs, and just working this desk job.
What motivated you to keep running though, even 45 minutes a week?
Just exercise.
Okay,
like I was never a big like go to the gym person, and I just felt like I needed to do like something.
So you weren't biding your time to then start training for real. You were just like, I need to run so I don't die.
Yeah, just so I don't gain like 20 pounds, basically.
Right.
And can stay sane.
Right.
So yeah, just running 3 or 4 days a week, and I think I maintained like modest fitness. I was like a 14:30 guy in college, but could run like 16-minute 5Ks still.
Right on.
But it wasn't until the following. Well, I'll tell the full story is that
Hit me.
We woke up. Kyle and I woke up like one.
You woke up one day after a 2-week
Saturday,
bender, and you said, "Okay, we need to change our ways."
Not really. Okay. So kind of, sorta along those lines. We basically, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. We'd gone out like the previous 2 nights, and it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and we're just kind of sitting there in our apartment, and had like the realization that we're like wasting our weekend days, and neither of us are really making that much money, and we were kind of just like, we should work part-time jobs, like just find like an easy part-time job where we can like sit behind a desk, collect like $12-14 an hour, and like that'll be our going out money basically. So we literally walked into Coolidge Corner Clubhouse, sat down, had a beer, applied for jobs at Coolidge Corner Clubhouse.
What is that?
It's just a restaurant.
It's
bar.
a restaurant. Okay, got it.
Never heard back. And then we got a lead from Jillian King from Heartbreak Hill Running Company.
Right on.
And they were looking for part-time help. So we both went and met with Dan and Justin. They liked us. We got jobs and just started doing the weekend thing there. And then a couple months later, Brielle, another BC grad, a couple years older, was the Newton manager. She left for a job at Marathon Sports, and they offered me the manager position in Newton.
Nice.
And it was kind of just like, I don't know. They gave me the offer, and I was originally like, no, like I'm on this PR path that I'm supposed to be on.
Exactly.
Kind of like you talk about.
Exactly.
Thought about it for like 24 hours, talked to my parents, and was kind of just like, you know what? I think I'd be happier in the interim if I took this running store job,
Right.
and we'll just figure it out as we go.
Yes.
And then for the running thing, like you remember Brian Hughes
Legend.
was training for Boston that year.
Yep.
And needed help on long runs, so I kind of started helping him with long runs, started getting back into running a little bit more regularly, and then everything just kind of spiraled from there. Started running some fast times again, like started liking my job a little bit more, and the enjoyment started to come back, and the joy for running started to come back. So it was very unplanned, I wasn't
Yes.
expecting any of it to happen.
Yes.
But I'm very grateful that it did, because now I feel like I have one of the best jobs in the world, and I'm very,
Right.
very happy and have the best relationship with running that I've ever had.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of
I love that.
that's kinda
I
where
think,
we're at.
I think about this, at least for my own life, and I notice this in other people's lives though. I think the biggest thing, like the biggest things that happen to you are a lot of the times just kind of not mistakes, but you weren't really intentional about them. So like you said, you got, I'm gonna try to get a job at a restaurant. Now I got a job at this running store. Oh, boom! Now I'm running professionally. Now I'm all into, like, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. I think about, when I went to BC, people ask me, oh, why'd you go to BC? And like, say, oh, it was the best school I got into. I like to say, oh, it was a new city and I want to experience another shit. But, bullshit. I was just like, oh, it was the best school I got into. Boom. But I'm so glad, like, it was just, I'm an idiot making that decision. And then I'm so glad that, it worked, it worked out. I'm glad I was in another city. But it's just funny that these things you don't think are going to be such a big deal end up just fucking boom.
Yeah.
Changing everything.
Well, I think a big thing too is, like, you have to open yourself up to opportunity, right?
Yes.
Like, just say yes to things, and good things will happen.
Yes.
So, like, I didn't apply for this job that I have now. I just tried to
Right.
continuously, like, put myself in the right conversations and in the right circles, and then, good things will happen. So
Absolutely. Yeah, something I've been riffing on internally is having some slack in the schedule, so not having everything booked up, or not always grinding on no gradient, or always grinding on work, or always grinding on something, but let's just have a few days in a row where I don't know what I'm going to do that evening, or weekends. Just let it. It's crazy. Things just drop in on your lap. And I think, to your point, being open to that is just say yes to things and see where it takes you. I'm curious, when you took this running job, working at a running store, Boston College graduate, big time education, big time school, and then you work at a running store. How did you feel? Like, would people make comments? Did you feel any pressure from your family, friend? Like, how did that sit with everything?
There was definitely, so early on it was chill. I was still less than a year out of school, and I think that the general understanding was that I took this job that was going to make me happier, and I think a lot of people could see that.
Isn't that a crazy idea? You took a job that was going to make you happier. I love that. Yeah.
Foreign concept.
I know. Fuck.
But so I mean, early on, I think there was this general understanding that, I was just on this path that was going to lead me down a better path eventually.
Yes.
But, I was at Heartbreak for 4 years, and, was never really making that much money there. And ultimately, like, every time I would sit back and, like, look at it and think about it, like, that was never, like, a huge issue for me. There was
money?
Yeah, and it's still not. I don't think money will ever be, money's makes living easier,
Sure.
It just, it's one less thing you have to think about
Right.
on a day-to-day basis, but I would much prefer to wake up and, like, be happy going about my business,
Yes.
than, having to stress and, like, be, concerned about other things. So,
Right.
but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of pressure from time to time, but, every time I just kind of, like, took a step back and thought about, if I was happy in what I was doing,
Right.
generally we were good to go. So
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I have really mad respect for that. I'm curious, so you said when you graduated, you said, I think I'm done with running. I don't think I'm going to be running professionally, or even to even PR again post grad. I think is basically, if you want to PR post grad with it's very difficult to recreate an environment where you're training every day. You have teammates. You have all this infrastructure around you. You're going to big time meets, racing big time people, and to recreate that post grad, in order to do that, you have to want it. That's not going to happen accidentally. So how did you think, did you think at all that was even a possibility? Or did you, like, when you started running again, were you like, okay, holy shit, I think now that I have more time, I'm gonna let's go for some PRs. When did it hit you like, okay, I'm gonna PR again?
So I kind of went down this path where I was like deathly afraid to ever step foot on a track.
Yes.
Because those I feel like are like where the times are like really measured. So
Right.
when I started getting into it competitively again, the first thing I would like thought about was, I was never really an injury-prone guy.
Right.
I kind of had an injury, but it was like not a real injury. I felt like I've
Right.
never like had a stress fracture or anything like that.
There we go.
So the first thing that I thought about was, I started doing these long runs with Hughes.
Yep.
And I really didn't want to get back into like the full workout grind. I just wanted to run.
Right.
So I was like, let me run more mileage. I've never done more than like 80 miles a week.
And if I recall correctly, I think you always wanted to do a little bit more mileage while you were at BC. I think you were always pushing for more. Yeah.
I think I was probably our highest mileage guy doing like 80 miles a week.
Yes.
Whereas
I think
feel
you and
like,
Malloy were, Malloy was kind of joining
pushing
you.
it up
Yep,
there. But,
absolutely.
And most D1 programs, for those people that don't know, probably, the top guys, I would say probably do at least 90 to 100, and
Right.
some probably more.
Right.
So for me, I was always like, well, I've always felt like I could handle more mileage. It's not
Right.
a mental strain on me. It's not a physical strain. So
Right.
I don't want to do more workouts, so let's just try
Right.
and see what happens. So I bumped the mileage up. I think that spring after I graduated, I did like
Right.
between 90 and 100.
Damn.
Just to see.
Right.
And I started running some PRs and like the longer stuff. And I'd never done the longer stuff. So
Right.
early on, like everything was a PR.
Right.
So
So you're talking about what? PRs in?
like a 10 mile or a
Right.
road 10K or a
Right.
half marathon, like
Right.
shit like that.
Right.
So, and that was a cool feeling because I'd been in this like plateau in college where I just like hadn't run a PR in years, which I'm
Right.
sure you can probably relate to. Like running like really beats you down,
Right.
and when you're not improving.
I can relate to that, dude. Did I? Damn. Was that
Well,
a dig,
actually,
dude? No, I'm trolling.
not a
dude.
dig.
No, I completely understand what you're saying.
I don't know your exact progression.
No,
I'm
you're
sure
good,
you
dude.
can relate to the fact
Yeah,
that
of course.
Anyway, though, so it was nice to be running these like off distances
Yes.
and running PRs and improving and
Right.
like seeing, a positive trend.
Right.
So the first goal was like, let's run a marathon and qualify for Boston. Because that was like the last thing that I hadn't done yet was run the
Classic.
Boston Marathon.
Right.
So I ran Vermont City and qualified. It was kind of a death march, but I
Right.
got through it, and
Right.
that was good. But I came out of that training cycle having had run some good workouts and some pretty fast times,
Right.
and the standard for the Olympic trials is a 65-minute half marathon to run the marathon.
Right.
And I hadn't really set a goal for myself up until that point, and I thought that was like a reasonable goal. I think
Right.
I'd run maybe 68 minutes in the half marathon.
Right.
And I was like, maybe if I start to work in some workouts, up the mileage a little bit more,
Right.
who knows? So that fall I ran 64:30 in Philly. Kind of went rogue a little bit with the mileage. I was honestly doing like 120 miles a week. It was literally like as much as I could do.
Right.
Like I'd wake up and run for as long as I could handle. So it was usually like anywhere from 11 to 12 miles. And then I'd work a full day at Heartbreak, and then I'd do another 5 or 6 miles, and I'd try to get to as close to 20 miles a day as I could.
Right.
And I was coaching myself, so there was no structure, rhyme, or reason to
Yep.
what I was doing,
Yep.
but it was working. And I qualified for the trials. I did the trials, which was a disaster.
Olympic trials in LA,
Yep.
which I was there. I was there for.
I felt good for the first couple laps.
Yeah.
And then I ended up not finishing that race. A lot of
Right.
people didn't finish, but
It was hot.
It was really hot. The
Yeah.
course kind of sucked. It
The
was
course
like
is out and
no
back
shade.
how many times? Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
But got through it. Well, almost got through it.
Yeah.
But that following spring, I ran another PR in the half. I ran like 64:10. And then at that point, I was kind of just like talk about like PRing and stuff. I
Right.
was full on like the marathon, half marathon grind.
Right.
Like,
First of all, before you go on, I'm curious about after the Olympic trials when you ran that, did you get any doubt creep in like, oh wow, I went for it, I was on this big I mean, the Olympic trials is like, obviously one of the biggest fucking things in running you can do. And then you went out and bombed, call it what it is, whatever. And then did you feel like, oh shit, maybe I should pull this back, or do you say, okay, boom, bad race, let's move forward?
Yeah, it was more the latter, I think. I had like this like voice in the back of my head after the race, basically just telling me, well, you didn't even run a marathon, you did 20 miles. That's basically a long run. Right. So let's just move on and like pick a new target. So I did the U.S. half champs like 2 months after that and finished 10th. It was like, it's been my only top 10 finish in a U.S. championship, like made some money. That was kind of cool. So yeah, so luckily, like I was still kind of a head case like I was in college, but had definitely tempered it back quite a bit and was able to move on from races a lot easier.
So why do you think that was, that you were able to bounce back more quickly?
There's just less pressure.
I was gonna guess that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was working a job, training myself. Like didn't have a huge team around me. It was just kind of along for the ride, so to speak. So I was at the level where I was running fast enough where, I could make some money and like have some fun with it, but I was never going to like step on the line and be the fastest guy on the line. So, whatever I did was kind of like a bonus. But anyway, so I got through that spring and like I said, I was full on like half marathon mode. Right. And at this point, I'd stepped on the track a few times and done a few races, and I still like couldn't really run much faster than my college times, even though I was running these really fast times on the roads. Yeah.
So you said, okay, hold on, I want to go for my college loot.
So I was running like 14:30s and like, I think I ran a 4:13 mile somewhere along the line. And I still hadn't really quite like conquered the marathon distance, so I wanted to go do that. So that fall, I ran the Mohawk Hudson Marathon, which is in my hometown, and I ran 2:17, which is my marathon PR.
Okay, right. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and that was probably like my least consistent training block. Like I went through the whole summer. That marathon's in October, and training in the summer in Boston can be a bitch because it's like super humid and hot, and like it's not fun to get out and do a 22 miler or something.
Everyone's
like that.
Everyone's so.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously. Like it's part of the principle on how I live. Like we talked about at the beginning, like there's so many opportunities to do stuff in the summer. It's really hard to train seriously. So a lot of my workouts weren't going that well. And then all of a sudden, the humidity dropped, it cooled off, we got into fall, I stepped on the line and just, cruised.
You just let it hang.
Yeah, and I'd made a deal kind of with myself that if I ran 2:15, that I would get a coach, and I ran 2:17, and I was like, that's close enough.
Close enough,
yeah.
Yes,
So,
I love it.
So I reached out to Randy, who you know. RT.
Legend.
So I've always admired RT. I think he's super chill, like kind of almost like the opposite of Coach Kerr a little bit, like very laid back, very old school. Like worked up all of the courage in the world to like write him an email and see if he'd be willing to coach me. And he almost immediately replied and was like, come by my office, let's chat. And he agreed to coach me. Like the first meeting was like, I thought we were gonna like sit down and have this like conversation on like whether or not it was gonna be a good fit. And he was basically just
gave you a training plan.
He's
the
like,
first day.
literally, he's like, okay, so here's the plan. First 5 weeks are like this. Next 5 weeks, and I was like, whoa, okay, guess we're doing this. So, and the one thing that like was completely different than anything that I'd done up to this point was, I think I met with him on a Friday, and he was like, all right, Monday, take the day off. And I was like, I don't really take days off. I run every single day. And he's like, trust me, you're going to take a day off every week. Take the day off. So it was like adjustment right off the bat. The mileage came down from like the 120, 130 range down to like the 80 to 90 range. I do that all in 6 days now. So I take a day off every single week. It's usually Monday. So this is a rare Monday where I went for a run.
Got it.
But I got permission, so it's okay.
You got permission. Okay, right on.
But yeah, and we trained for Boston that year. Long story short, Boston did not go that well. But on the line, I ran 8 flat in the 3K, which was like a 20-something PR. Ran
Right.
13:53 in the 5K. I think you were
Right.
at that race.
13:53, was that at the
At BU, I think.
Oh,
I had like
yeah.
a big kick to win.
Yes.
Um,
Okay, right on.
And then
yeah.
that spring I ran 28:59 the 10K. So
Right.
like the times were just like melting off
Love it.
as soon as I had some guidance in some direction.
Right.
And this guy, like Randy's like so laid back and chill, and I think that directly affected how I approach running. And I
Right.
think it's just made it so easy for me to kind of go about my business and
Right.
enjoy the sport and also run well.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at.
Now I should have introed with this, but this man, you're a sub 4 miler, brother beast.
Yes.
That is a golden any time in running. That I think that is the pinnacle of okay, sub 4. That's like that is the target. Can you walk us through that one, brother? Because that's you're running everything from the marathon, and then you look at the mile, you say, boom,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Well, like, yeah. So I mean, I was full on the marathon grind, and I always felt like I had some kind of unfinished business with the track, but
Yes.
it's scary to get back on the track for sure, especially when you exit the track on like a downward slide. But I'd done a couple. Randy had got me through a few workouts where I thought like maybe I could run close to 4 minutes.
Right.
That spring we did one workout. It was like alternating 800 and 1200, like cruising.
Okay.
I think we did like 4 or 5 of them, like pretty relaxed. And
Right.
then he had me finish with like a hard 1000. And I was like, how hard do you want me to do it? And he was like, I think you can run about 230. And I was like, I think so too. So we did it, and I ran 230 flat. And that was like the March before, the following winter when I broke 4. But that was
Right.
like the first workout where I was like, oh, maybe I could get on the track and do a 4-minute mile or close
Right.
to it. So, that fall we did cross country. It was the first season I didn't do a marathon. I was like, I'm ready to take a step back from the marathon. Had kind of a proper fall build, and then I like sat down with Randy that winter and was like, I really want to try to break 4.
Right.
I'm still a little bit young, and I think that I could take a crack at it. And he was like, okay, you'll need 3 races to do it. And I was like,
I love that.
And I was like, okay, cool. So we went down to my PR was 4:08 going into the season.
Yep. And that was running college.
That was in college.
Yep.
The first mile that I ran was in Staten Island. I went down and raced against a bunch of like Hoka and JNY pros, and I was really, really sick, and I was pissed because I was in really good shape, and I
Right.
thought that I was going to break 4 that first try, and I ran 4:04, and I was really pumped. It was like a big 4-second
Right.
PR, and I was sick, so I was happy. Then I ran a 3K, I PR'd in the 3K, and then the very next week I ran another mile at BU. And we kind of had a shitty pacer. He was a freshman from Princeton. He
love it.
shout out to Tyler King.
Yeah.
He went out in like 129 for the first 6, so he was
Okay.
right on the money.
Right.
And then he slowed down, and we came through 800 in like 201. And then another kid took the lead, and we came through a K in like 232.
Okay.
So we were a little off pace, and then I took the lead from there and like wound it down. I think I ran 402 or
Right.
401. So that was the race where I was like, I know I can definitely do it. But going into that race, I had kind of made a deal with myself. I also really wanted to run a fast 5K.
Right.
So I was like, if I run 401, I'll run another mile and go for it. If I run 403, I'll run a 5K. And then I
you
ran
set these
402.
little, you
yeah,
set
I
these
know.
little things for
I'm
yourself.
still a head case, like deep down.
No, it's
yeah.
not. Yeah, right on.
But yes, I ran 402, and I was like, I'm never going to get a chance to do this again, so I'm just going to go for it. So I signed up. Randy actually told me to sign up for both. He was like, sign up for the 5K and the mile,
Right.
and then wait and see which field is stronger.
Right.
So we went for the mile, and it was a perfect race. This BAA guy showed up to pace it. He was like a 146, 800 guy, and he just like cruised like the easiest 228 1K you've ever seen. I just tried to hang on the line and go around, and we got to 400 to go, and I had a little bit left in the tank, and came through and did it. I think I was 6th in my heat too. So ran 3:59, but like was pretty safely under, but still like
Right.
leaned more at the line than I've ever leaned in my life or
Right.
anything. But it was cool, man. Like that's like life goal number one.
Absolutely.
Like I ran 4:22 as a sophomore in high school, and like from there on out, it was like, okay, I want to break 4 in the mile.
Right.
And like I think I ran between 4:08 and 4:12 like 25 times.
Right.
In my life. Like
Right.
I've counted it out. Like I hit this plateau, and I never thought I'd get back to that point where it was
Right.
going to be like a realistic possibility.
Right.
And to be honest, like since I've broke 4, I've kind of had like a motivational struggle a little bit.
Right.
I had a good spring season. I ran some good times, but like I've definitely had that element of like,
Interesting.
what's next now?
Right.
Like that was like the big penultimate like
Yep.
goal. And now it's accomplished, and you know I'm not a professional runner. Like I work a full-time job
Right.
that supports me.
That's
in
true.
my
So when I
running.
call you a professional
Yeah.
runner, that's wrong.
Yeah, not a professional
Do
runner.
you get your shoes paid for?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you're pro in my book. Continue.
Shout out to Mizuno, who's been very supportive the past couple of
There we
years.
go. Mizuno.
But yeah, man. Like I just, you know, I still have a desire to train and compete.
Right.
But I just don't really know what's next. I'd love
Right.
to continue improving and like go to the trials and just beat up on some people that only run. You know,
Right.
I
love
like
it. Beat
doing
up on
that.
people that only run.
Yeah.
I got a day job too.
Exactly.
I love that.
So yeah, so we'll figure it out. I had a really good spring though. I ran
Right.
some more PRs and had a really good. I ran the BA 10K, which is a really big race, and was second American behind Chris Derrick, which is really cool. And
Nice.
he's like one of the best runners in the country. So I think that there's still more to come.
Right.
But I don't know what it is.
You
So
don't
you
know
asked
what it
me
is.
like, what's next? I'm kind of a little bit lost with it, but I'm
Right.
just gonna continue like living the life and like
Yes.
doing the thing, and we'll
Yes.
figure it out along the way.
Keep things in the
So-
flex. Keep some slack in the schedule. Say yes to things. Just
Exactly.
see where it takes you.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, that's epic. Well, I'll be we'll all be watching Brother Beast. I do have as we kind of wrap up here. I do have a question for you though. What would you say to people that are in the either in college now and are thinking about, okay, what do I want to do with my time post grad, or people that are a few years out that are my joke is I have a tweet schedule. It always sound like a douche when I say that, but I have a tweet schedule. I schedule tweets. Fight me on it. But it's like ask anyone in their mid-20s, when are you quitting your job? Just ask anyone in that. Most people, if you ask them that question, you'll hear them spill their soul. Because most people, I think in their mid-20s, they got a job out of college. Maybe they're on their second job, but they're on their first job. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm working now. So they're starting to think like, okay, so this times 20 and then I'm dead. Like 20, I've worked for 2 years. Okay, let's 20x that. And then where's the coffin, or where's my retirement? And then I'm by the time I can relax, I have no life left in me. So what would you say to people kind of noodling on that? Do what I want, do what I love, take a chance versus, not.
Yeah, man, it's tough. Like, there's so much pressure in life. Like, I know a lot of people that do the corporate grind and seem to be okay with it. A lot of
Right.
people, I feel like, are good at finding outlets.
Right.
So other things in their lives that, support what they're doing with their day job, whether they like it or not. One of those things is running. I get a lot of people that come to Run Club after the 9-to-5 grind, and it's
Totally.
like one of the highlights of their week. So I think it kind of depends on who you are
Yep.
and what you want to get out of life. I can also really relate to people that aren't sure what they want to do. So I've come across, like in the past 5 years since graduating, I've come across a lot of people who resonate with what I've done and
Absolutely.
aren't sure what they want to do with their lives. And I
Right.
think the first step is figuring out what that is.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know, and it's really hard to figure out what that is, right? So I think for me, I'm very lucky because I took this running job at Heartbreak kind of blindly. I knew I liked running, but didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And then I had Tracksmith come to me seemingly just kind of on a whim, and we're like, we're opening up this retail store. We've seen what you've done at Heartbreak. We've seen this running community that you've built. Like, here's a job description. Like, we'd love you to take it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's what I'm good at. That's what I want to do.
Right.
And even still, like, I feel like I'm growing in my role and, like, learning, like, kind of fine-tuning, like, what I want to do with my career and with my life. But I would just say, like, follow like whatever your passions are.
Follow your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I love it. Right.
Seriously, like just continue to put yourself in places where you know you'll be happy. And then, hopefully like, if you do want that to be your career, like if you do want to associate all those things with like what you're doing, hopefully, those passions will eventually link up with a career path and you'll find something.
Right.
But it's really hard. I think people struggle the most when like you are trying to figure out what you want to do. Like,
yes.
And then that's when you are like the most lost. Like when you're trying to figure out, you almost have to like let it come to you and just like trust your instincts and go with the flow.
Right.
And that's kind of when I've had the most like success. Like I used to get pressured at Heartbreak because I was like, one of the only employees there. It was a relatively small company.
Yep.
And I had some dark times there where like Dan and JB, the owners, would be like, well, what do you want to do? Like help us help you.
That's the
like,
scariest question in the world.
Yeah. Like, do you want to do more social media? Like, do you want to be involved in the running club?
Right.
Like what, like we're kind of trying to tailor make this position for you.
Right.
And like, they'd get frustrated with me and I'd be like, I don't know. Like,
yes.
I know I'm good at selling shoes. I know I'm good at talking about running and like helping people, but like, I'm not ready to like give you like a job that I know I'm going to be good at. Like, I think I'll be good at this.
Right.
So I think you just got to, keep pressing on the things that you know you're good at and keep pushing the right buttons, and eventually you'll fall into the right line. And that can be a frustrating thing because you just want it to happen like that.
Right. You just got to trust.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm just kind of speaking out of my ass, but
no, you're not, because you're actually doing something that that's why I'm riffing with you, brother. Beast. You're not speaking out, because you're actually doing, I think, what a lot of people, wish they were doing. I think something that I've kind of been riffing on is there's some quote, I forget, shout out Ryan Carpel. He sends these like emails out to some homies every week, and one of them was like something about just like the heart, let the heart tell you, okay, what do you want? Kind of let that kind of guide, like, okay, so running, for example, the heart will tell you running, and then let the mind take it from there, and the how. So for you, the how is, okay, if I want to do running, how can we do that? Oh, well, let me work at a running store. Let me do this. And that'll give me flexibility in my training. That'll allow me to do it, during the day. That'll allow me to kind of build up a brand, for lack of a better, I hate that fucking word, but, build up a kind of I'm a runner.
Persona, whatever.
Persona, exactly. So that's something that I've been kind of, heart, boom, that'll give you the why, and then let the head take it from there in terms of the how. I buy that, Brother Beast. Quickly, before I just compliment you some more, we're going to just do another quick shout out on Trackster. Again, Emmet Scullivan. We got Jack Sexton, Sam Scully, Andy Powell.
I use the app, by the way. I coach.
Oh, I should have asked that.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay. I love that.
I coach like 15 people through my job.
Okay.
And that's a good app.
It's a good app. So Louis Serafini, the
endorsed.
App works.
Yeah.
The app works.
Yeah.
That's the official quote on Trackster. I think. That is the official quote.
And good gut. They hustle. That's what I like.
They do.
I like to see that.
Well, so that they're not doing. I think kind of the shit we're riffing on, like I think a little less. Obviously, what you're doing, like, I'm going to do professional, or I'm going to run. I'm going to chase PRs post grad. Like that's a big fucking deal, obviously. But the startup grind, like, we're going to start our own thing. Like these are things that I have a lot of respect for, because
you're taking risks.
You're taking risks
big time.
Dude, the whole world, it feels like, is designed to just kind of. It's so easy if you kind of just let yourself float. Oh, it's so easy to fall into something that is just, fucking by default. Well, I think the default now is your job you're not enjoying your job really, but like you said, you find outlets. But I think I think there needs to be like a global shift in how we approach it, which I think is how you approach it, which is let's not have a job and then have outlets. Let's have our outlet be what we fucking do.
Yeah.
So I think and
we're seeing more and more people do that. It's just like, how do we get people to get there earlier in their lives?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because BC is like, it's a great school, super social, a lot of great people, but like that environment is like cultivating people to go straight into like the corporate
Totally.
wormhole, and it's
The
kind of, it can
corporate
be
wormhole.
I don't know. It can be brutal, man. Like,
Totally.
and it works out for some people, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
But
of course.
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you've got a lot of homies that are struggling right now.
Yeah. Well,
so.
yeah, Zingarini, we just kind of riffed on. We were riffing on a lot of the same stuff, and yeah, that pressure, for example, I remember going into senior year, the pressure. I was so relieved that I had a fucking job for my internship. They gave me an offer, and I was just like, oh my god.
Well, do you remember what it was like not having a job second semester senior year? It was like you're like looked down upon almost.
Yeah.
I remember
Totally.
being in my capstone class and like literally having the professor like go around the room and be like, who has a job and who doesn't?
God,
this is the average starting salary for a BC graduate. This is what you should be making.
Oh my! Wait, and this is a capstone class?
In a capstone class, yeah.
And a capstone is supposed to be about like finding yourself and shit like
Yeah,
that. And they're
yeah.
talking about jobs and average salaries.
Well,
What the fuck?
I stayed fairly close with that professor too. And I remember when I took the Heartbreak job, he asked me what I was being paid, and I told him, and he was like, "Oh, you're worth way more than that."
Right.
Solely based on the fact that I was a BC grad,
Sure.
and I was that you talk about feeling pressure from outside places,
Damn.
and I was just kind of like, well, I know they don't have the money to pay me. It's a
Right.
small company,
Right.
and I'm honestly way more happier than I was working in PR.
Totally.
So, yeah, it's tough, man. That
Dude.
environment's cancerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, Serafine, Louis Serafini, Serafine. I called you Louis, actually. I remember like the first training camp when I first met you. I was like, oh, I'm going to call you Louis, and then it kind of died out. But
Yeah, I think Lou is the most common
Lou, yeah.
these days.
Sweet Lou is that's your street name. Well, brother, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for fitting us in this epic track. Yo, okay, shout out Tracksmith. This is on Newberry Street. What's the address for?
Yeah, 285.
285.
Yeah, Newberry. Runners Clubhouse.
Runners Clubhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a retail space on the first floor.
Yes.
Where we make premium running apparel.
Yes.
So everything that we make is like super high quality.
Yes, like I said, this place is insane. I've never seen any running store like this. This is dialed in.
It'll be the nerdiest running brand in the world,
Right.
I would say. But I think our cornerstones are just like attention to detail, right? And just like love of the sport. So the first floor is retail space.
Yep.
Second floor is like a devoted community lounge space where we lead run clubs, which are all free and open to anyone. So if you're in Boston and you need running guidance,
come in, say hi to Sweet Lou.
Yep. And we've got the third floor, which is offices. Hopefully someday we'll have the whole building. But yeah, that's it. 285 Newberry.
285 Newberry. Come poke your head in. Come say hi to Sweet Lou. And throw back to my old pockets. I have to pee extremely badly. That's thanks for the beer. Oh yeah, like I said, shout out Tracksmith Brewing
And
Company.
Mystic Brewing.
Mystic Brewing.
Over in where are they? They're right over the Zachem Bridge.
Oh, the Zachem Bridge.
Yeah.
Everyone
They have a cool space. N64 set up to like an old box TV. It's a cool spot. You should check it out.
Cool spot. Obviously, I have to shout this out so we don't get sued. Government warning, according to Surgeon General, women should not. Anyway, just kidding. Okay, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Louis Serafini, Brother Beast. Thanks a lot. This was awesome. There we go. He called me Dick now. I go by
Older
Dick now.
Older
GM. See you later. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming out, brother. Appreciate it. Boom.
All right.
Right on, brother.
Cool. That was fun.
That was epic, dude. That was chill. Thanks for.
Sorry if I rambled.
No, dude. I told you I was gonna cut you off. That never got out of hand. So
That was fun. I think that's the first non-running pod I've ever been on.
Yes.